To the Sponsee, Chapter 2, page 26. Why addicts seek a sponsor. We have learned from our experience as a fellowship that we need to do more than just attend Narcotics Anonymous meetings. The NA program teaches concepts and principles most of us were not conscious of during our active addiction. Now, newly clean and new to NA, we are in unfamiliar territory. Hearing other members share about working and practicing the steps and traditions or developing a conscious contact with a higher power may fill us with confusion and suspicion. We know it is not going to be easy to stop using drugs, but we did not realize that living a life of recovery would require so much work. These concepts may be contrary to our way of looking at the world. We may not want to learn how to live with integrity or to offer ourselves in selfless service to other addicts. All we want to do is stop hurting and end the awful cycle of despair and remorse caused by our disease. The last thing many of us expect to do or know how to do when we get clean is to work at this thing called recovery. Quote, "When I first came into NA, I had no idea what the program could be. All I really wanted was to stop using. But over time, I read the steps, worked them with my sponsor, and did the same with the traditions. It was tough at first, but my sponsor, as well as other recovering addicts I met, gave me unconditional love, encouragement, and shared their understanding of our program, and it has paid off. I have gotten so much more than just abstinence." Close quote. Having a sponsor helps many of us learn about the NA program and gain insight into ourselves that would be difficult to achieve alone. A sponsor is someone with whom we can share our deep, dark secrets, and also someone who can share new ideas with us and offer us direction when we ask for it. This is true for those of us who are new to the program as well as the member who has accumulated some clean time. More importantly, for many of us, our sponsor is the person we can call when we have the desire to use. Quote, "I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I think I would like to make my life a lot better by writing an inventory or making some amends or turning my will in life over to the care of my higher power. When I had never done any of these things before, I needed someone who was on the outside of my decision-making process to give me the push I needed in the right direction." Close quote. Page 27. Page 28. Quote, "I remember when I picked my first sponsor. I needed to find the one person I could trust 15 minutes before I used or 15 minutes after I got high. Who can I trust at that level? I didn't give a damn about the steps. I was supposed to go to jail for a long time. He told me, if you're supposed to go to jail, maybe that's where you're supposed to be. I meant to say, who asked you? But instead, I asked him to be my sponsor. I needed him to tell me that. It was exactly what I was looking for." Close quote. Many of us choose our sponsors because of the honesty or depth of their sharing. We may share similar backgrounds or other traits, enabling us to trust the suggestions they offer. Sometimes we just have an intuitive sense that someone is the right sponsor for us. Frequently, a special bond forms which may lead us to share a deep spiritual connection to our sponsor. Quote, "I believe my sponsor today, and for 7 years so far was sent by God. We met at a convention. She asked me to hang out with her, and we talked with each other all weekend. By Saturday morning, I knew that this was who I wanted to guide me through my recovery. Then, later that night, she boldly challenged me when I excused inappropriate behavior I had been tolerating for some time from a member of my support group. I was shocked. She hardly knew me, but in fact, she knew me better than anyone I had met. She is still the woman I most want to be like when I grow up, but I never want to dress like her." Another quote, "For me, my sponsor is that one special person who I can go to with my personal questions, those questions that might embarrass me or those of a very private nature. I can go to meetings and get experience, strength, and hope from the fellowship, but when I need that special attention, my sponsor is the special recovering addict sent to me from the God of my understanding." Close quote. Another quote, "A few months before my 3rd year clean, my sponsor moved to another city to pursue her career. Once again, I had the task of finding a new sponsor. I chose a woman who had comforted me one night when I was hurting. She seemed safe and comfortable. I didn't think about my decision beforehand. I just asked her if she had worked with the steps and then asked her if she would be my sponsor. She was thrilled." End quote. When we are new to the program, page 29, a sponsor can often make it easier for us to get comfortable with becoming part of the NA fellowship. Our sponsor can introduce us to other members who have more clean time or who have had similar life experiences. Working with a sponsor can help us sort out aspects of the program that may be confusing to us. What kind of things do we want to share in meetings, and what might be best discussed one-on-one when we are ready to take on certain commitments, and so on. Developing a relationship with a sponsor can make us feel part of something larger than ourselves. Quote, I got clean in a small NA area. We only had 7 meetings at the time, so many of the members were very close. It was like this big family, and at first I felt like an outsider. My sponsor would invite me to join him whenever the group went out for coffee or to eat. He would also include me in their conversations. It was comforting, and I soon began to feel like I was part of the group. It was the first time I felt like I belonged. Close quote. Page 30. Another quote. When I was new in NA, my sponsor invited me to a work meeting of the service committee that translates NA literature into our language. I went there and found that I liked that service and the people doing it. I became a regular member like my sponsor. I learned how to work together with others, and soon many of the people on the committee became my close friends. I felt that I was a part of the fellowship and learned a lot about it. Close quote. Sponsorship is as vital to members who have been clean for many years as to those who are new to the program. While the Narcotics Anonymous program may be simple, its principles have a richness that deepens as we mature in our recovery. Just as our disease can be progressive, so too can our recovery. The longer we stay clean and work the program, the more tools we have and the richer our spiritual life can become. Quote, as I continue to stay clean in NA, I have come to believe that one of my responsibilities in being a recovering addict is to grow by learning new ideas and trying them through action. Close quote. Another quote. The longer I stay clean, the more magical and mystical the steps become. It's like staring at the clouds and watching them turn into hundreds of faces and images. I see the steps like that, changing as I grow and evolve in my recovery. I'm going through the steps once again with my new sponsor, and I know it will be an exciting journey. I pray that I never see the steps or myself as a finished piece of work. Close quote. Another quote. When I was new to NA, I used to think of open-mindedness only in terms of my belief system. I was an evangelical atheist, and I had to work hard to listen with an open mind to what people shared in the meetings. Now, years later, my sponsor has helped me to see that open-mindedness extends far beyond my ideas about God or a higher power and into ideas about what makes me happy, what I want for myself, my dreams, and so on. I love my life today, and nothing about it is as I might have imagined or ordered up for myself had I not learned how to be open to new possibilities. Close quote, page 31. Members with substantial clean time can find that they are as vulnerable as newcomers are when facing some of life's uncertainties. Clean time does not always mean that a member grasps the principles of the NA program easily. Our disease does not go away, and we are not freed from life's problems simply because we have been clean for a certain number of years. Having a sponsor during difficult times can be invaluable. Quote, after 7 pretty solid years of working my program in the steps with a sponsor, I gradually, but eventually, stopped calling my sponsor. The next thing I know, I'm in a hotel room in a city known for glitter and gambling with strangers who are getting high. All of this happened with about 9 years clean, but I had no sponsor and obviously no program. I was truly lost. My sponsor today shared with me that my higher power really loves me and that I was the luckiest guy in the world to survive my gamble without disaster. Close quote. Another quote. There have been times in my recovery when I have felt lost or abandoned, or like I have lost my connection to God and NA. But I was taught the door is always open, and sometimes it's a sponsor or a very close friend who will take my hand and lead me back home. Page 32. I have always responded best to the kindness and tenderness of people. I guess I just spent so much time in my using days beating myself up that when I arrived to NA completely beaten and downhearted, what I really needed was to feel loved and accepted regardless of who I was or what I had done. Close quote. Many members look to a sponsor for help with accepting the challenges and obstacles that sometimes confront us while learning how to live a clean life. A sponsor can offer us suggestions on how to deal with the wreckage of our past as well as the challenges of our present. Quote, when my sister overdosed 5 months ago, I was devastated by the loss. My sponsor listened to my pain and made time for me when I was in need. We live 400 miles away from each other, but when I would call him, it seemed like he was right next to me. He showed up unannounced at her funeral just to be there for me. I know that dropping everything and getting on a plane to be there for someone is not in the job description of a sponsor, but I could never find the words to say how much it meant to have him near me then, and how much it helped me to get to the other side of my grief. Close quote. Another quote. I was facing financial disaster when my ex-wife sued me for past due child support. My sponsor helped me to recognize the importance of facing the past, making amends with financial restitution, and becoming freed for my future. Close quote. Sharing intimately with another member who is like us reinforces the fact that the feelings and experiences we have are not so unique. Often, a sponsor has walked along the same path as a sponsee and can share his or her knowledge and experience with that situation. This, in turn, may help the sponsee to avoid some of the identical pitfalls the sponsor went through. Page 33, quote, "When I had 10 years clean, I was experiencing midlife issues dealing with sexuality. I needed a new sponsor, but I knew very few people who had dealt with these issues and who had more clean time. So I asked a woman who had a year less clean time but was 10 years older than me and who had just come through these same issues. She had looked for love in all the wrong places and had learned how to love responsibly." Close quote. Sponsorship can play a crucial role in the second step. Many credit sponsorship as an important factor in coming to believe that we can be restored to sanity. This is not to say that a sponsor is like a higher power, but that sponsorship helps guide us in our decision-making and self-understanding. Our sponsors can help us get better perspective on ourselves and our lives. This can be one of the benefits of having the same sponsor over a long period of time. As the years pass, they know us better and better. Quote, "My sponsor helped me understand that unmanageability didn't apply to outside things, but also to the way that I felt. She taught me about insanity and helped me to see where I was trying to do the same old, ineffective things to solve my problems. She did this in a loving way without stepping on my toes." Close quote. Quote, "After many years clean, I got in a fist fight and subsequently became riddled with fear. I thought I had progressed beyond that kind of behavior. My sponsor reminded me that I continue to be a work in progress. He listened and nurtured me back to the steps. I found myself moving toward the solution and no longer lingering in the problem." Close quote. Another quote. "My sponsor is the one who helps hold the spiritual flashlight for me." Close quote. Page 34. The reason addicts seek sponsors are numerous. However, we find that what binds us together is that we are all seeking recovery. Many of us cherish our relationships in NA, and particularly our relationships with our sponsors, for the ways that they are sometimes distinct from our relationships outside the program. The spiritual principle of anonymity ensures that we are all equals inside the rooms of NA. The principles of our program can often help us to overcome and face our problems in a responsible and productive manner. We can stand together and know that we do not have to go through these challenges alone. Quote, "Anonymity, the condition of bearing no name, is essential in my sponsorship relationships. A sound understanding of the 12th tradition means coming to understand anonymity on many levels. It must be important. Not only is it the spiritual foundation of all our principles, it's half our name. One is that we keep each other's secrets. Another, more important to me, is that we are all, in some senses, the same. My sponsor is not a better person or a better addict than I am. I have as much or more to learn from my sponsees as they from me." Close quote.